Say something.
Hello and welcome to the Film Buffet podcast. My name is Tom.
And I'm your
we
other
are
host,
here.
Beyond the Blizz, back here once again. Of course, we also have Robb Gallo here. How you doing, Robb Gallo? Am I saying that right?
No, it's like Gallo wine,
Gallo.
but if I were
All I heard was
related
a
to them,
siren, so I was freaking out.
Like
there. I was
Galileo,
like, oh, shit.
Galileo, like that type of thing. Like that.
maybe go. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
we
I
have
was-
a new... Oh, go ahead.
Now, I would say if I were related to the guys who make wine, probably wouldn't be here right now. So,
And we have a new voice with us tonight. If you've seen the trailer breakdown by Matt, this is Matt Weiss himself. How are we doing tonight, Matt?
Oh, doing great, Tom. Thanks for asking. How are you guys all doing?
Good, good. So we're glad to have you here on our Film Buffet podcast, which sadly, in a way, is kind of our last podcast. But we'll get into that a little bit later. First off, though, Film Buffet podcast would like to present a D23 special. So we're going to talk about all that kind of stuff, but we're going to cover the box office first. So, okay, the weekend box office has been a big deal. Everybody's talking about how bad Spider-Man is supposedly doing. So I'm just going to get right into that part first, I think. War for the Planet of the Apes came out this last weekend and made $56 million, and Spider-Man Homecoming had a 62% drop of 44. Now, you may have heard, oh, well, wait a minute. Everybody was saying it was a 73% drop. That was just for Friday night. Okay. And, of course, Despicable Me 3 came up third. Fourth was Baby Driver. Fifth was The Big Six, and then Wonder Woman, Wish Upon. Cars 3, Transformers in the House rounded off the top 10. But, of course, the big thing that everybody's talking about is War for the Planet of the Apes pulling the upset for the weekend. Everybody thought Spider-Man Homecoming was going to come out front again, and instead, the War for the Planet of the Apes won the war and got the number one spot for the weekend. But it really did hurt both films, I think, is the big issue here, because you had two very big films that opened up right next to each other, both very good films. So they're competing for the same audience, and I think that shows in the numbers here. What do you guys think? Go ahead, Rob.
They cannibalized each other pretty much.
yeah, you get two films really competing against each other. There's only so much of that dollar to go around. Anybody who's going to go see Spider-Man again was probably going to go see Planet of the Apes. So, not surprised.
The ratings are fantastic, though. I'm looking at it right here. Just to interject real quick. I'm like, you have Spider-Man Homecoming, that's, 92% at the time of this live recording, 88.2 on IMDb. So, I mean, they're both about the same level of critical acclaim. So, yeah, it's like I said before, they're pretty much cannibalizing themselves, which is unfortunate. I think this is Fox's fault. I think Sony and Marvel had the right release date. I don't think Fox had the right release date. I think they had a problem releasing it too close to another big blockbuster film. And yeah, so we're obviously seeing the repercussions of it. Of course, we'll get into that a little bit later, how it dropped so much. But yeah, so of course, Matt, you can go ahead and give your thoughts on this interesting box office battle, or war, as Tom put it.
Well, it's interesting because, because I'm gonna just say that I'm pretty much the Sony basher, given with how I open with my trailer breakdown itself. But
I hate Sony too. That's no problem. I hate it.
Well,
I despise them. So.
It's interesting because they also opened Baby Driver not even within weeks after Transformers came out, and then you had Spider-Man Homecoming, also another Sony production, just come out as well. So you're just seeing this literally like Oreo stacking of all these films that really can't, especially in Sony's case, you really can't make a box office off of anything with the Sony brand on it, especially if you're trying to do it with Baby Driver. I'm like, you're screwing over a guy like Edgar Wright out of a much-deserved box office attempt. I'm not saying that whether or not you like the movie, any movie should have a fair chance of getting that box office. And you're basically just stacking these movies up and not giving them the opportunity to even get anything or, garner praise or just, flat out fall out of the box office.
Oreos.
Yes, Oreos.
And the other news to go along with that, though, is everybody's talking about, oh, how bad Homecoming's doing now, because it only had $44 million the second weekend and had a 62.2% drop. Now, you guys all know that's the average drop for these movies. And even Andre said the same thing when I talked to him about it from Midnight's Edge. Andre, he said that this is typical of these movies. Don't panic. And he also thinks that this is going to be another movie kind of like Wonder Woman, to where it's going to have long legs going forward, because the word of the mouth is going to carry it. You did have not a fatigue so much of superhero fatigue, but you had people, and he made a good comparison between Wonder Woman and this movie, in a sense that you had a lot of people who at first were kind of, I don't know about that, and they didn't really go see Wonder Woman the opening weekend, but all these people who liked the film got the word of mouth out there and got their friends to go see it, and that movie kept making more and more money. He thinks this is going to be the same thing here with Spider-Man. Now that the movie's out, people have seen it. People are saying it's good. Yeah, it didn't do well this weekend because of Apes, but I think we're going to see another weekend, this following weekend, where both movies are going to play well, but Dunkirk, I think, is going to take the #1 spot.
Actually, I have to interject, Tom. I think there's a chance Dunkirk may come in at like #3 or something like that. Because, I mean, let's face it, Dunkirk in the middle of summer, like, this should have came out realistically in like maybe I'm thinking November, maybe late. I would say November is probably the best place. It's like right in the holiday season window, and
you could be right.
You get all that Oscar buzz, and for a movie like that, for a movie war film like that, it would have made really good money. For the type of genre it's in, it would have maybe made like
I agree. It should have been
$300 million. Right, exactly. So. Yeah. I think it may come in like #3, maybe #2, but I mean, let's face it.
The thing is, though, the only thing I will say, though, to interject is Christopher Nolan's like the new Scorsese. Like he was back in the 70s and 80s, to where if somebody said, oh, it's a Scorsese movie or a Spielberg movie, people didn't really care. They were going to go see it. I mean, I know a couple of the guys here beyond and Matt are a little young to kind of remember the 70s and 80s, but Rob probably knows what I'm talking about. To where
yeah.
Those kind of guys were like, oh, it's a Scorsese. Oh, never mind. Say no more. I'm there. You know what I mean? So I have a feeling, and he does have this aura about him, especially I notice in the groups, that this might be a movie that it pulls off the weird summer upset. It could be just get drowned in the summer blockbusters, though.
I feel like it's going to. I mean, here's the sad thing. Notice how we're not even mentioning Valerian. I remember we had a meeting with Andre earlier today, who is, of course, the head of Midnight's Edge, and even he didn't remember when Valerian was coming out. Because I know we all had a pact that this week we're supposed to see Valerian, so I'm going to be seeing it Thursday, and I'm not looking forward to it because I don't want to see it.
I think Thursday is my plan, yeah.
I don't want to give that movie my money. I really don't feel like it, just because... I mean, Luc Besson, that was basically a $300 million indie film that I think is going to completely fail. It's going to fail so hard. I feel so bad because, again, that's a lot of money for the studio to lose. I mean, that's a lot of money. That can tank a studio, or at least put them really in the red for a long time. Financially, of course.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't see how anybody's going to go see Valerian. I really don't. I mean, you might have... Luc Besson is... He do Fifth Element?
He did.
Yes.
I actually like Fifth Element a lot, actually.
Yeah, I did like Fifth Element too, but I mean... does anybody really remember the Fifth Element who's going to movies now? I mean...
Well, that's just it. He was kind of like one of those directors back in the heyday of guys like Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez. That's when he kind of made his big... He was like the sci-fi god of that era. And well, not so much sci-fi, but action sci-fi-ish. He was in that kind of realm. And then, like you said, after Fifth Element, I think he's done a couple things since then, but it's all been kind of under the radar, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look.
Yeah, I said. I have no idea who's gonna go see it. It's. I think we're hitting the wall for the summer releases. Really.
Yeah, we're at the height. I mean, I think Spider-Man: Homecoming was really the height of it. Pretty much. And then now we're kind of getting into the slump period.
And Apes too. Apes and Spider-Man was kind of like this pinnacle.
Apes too. Yeah. Let me not forget that. Yeah, those are pretty much the highlights. And then all of a sudden now I think we're going to see a big dip. I mean, this is the one thing. Okay, I want to do a percentage with you guys real quick on Valerian. I think there is a 15%, maybe 10% around there chance that this film may be like, imagine that that may actually do well, and I would say like 2% that it may be like some Avatar thing where people just keep going back to see it because of the visuals alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you guys think there's a chance of that, if any?
I don't think the stoner crowd is that big.
Okay, and just for the record, Luc Besson lately, his whole thing has been the Taken films, Transporter 2, a lot of just
action chase kind of movies.
Shit. Yeah.
Well,
and Lucy.
Lucy, yeah. Well, one of the things about Valerian is I don't get a sense of it that it's really about anything.
It looks very generic. It looks like somebody trying to rip off Star Wars and
I think that's what's not to interject, but I think that's the real thing here, where you're seeing a lot of pull of like, okay, this is what works in the big box office, or this is what is the big box office draw. And you have a lot of Star Wars, you have Star Trek, even though Star Trek didn't really do as well in the last ideation, more by ratings alone. And you're seeing Valerian kind of do it. And what's weird is that Valerian's an adaptation. And why they didn't just, base it on the comics itself. It's okay to base it on something that's a product of an era. And I just see this as being something that, like, to reiterate, is something that's just being modernized for the sake of modernizing.
Right, and to just kind of, it's based on an Italian comic, if I'm not mistaken. French, sorry, a French comic. Yeah, sorry. So like a lot of Americans don't even really know what it is, and they're really going about it with this really teen Hunger Games / Twilight-esque kind of thing meets Star Wars.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Tom, too, and this goes for everybody as well. It's like, I keep seeing the trailers, and I yet to tell you what the plot is. I'm still like, oh, a movie with Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne that barely anybody knows about, and I'm like, no one wakes up and say, you know what, I want to see myself a Cara Delevingne and Dane DeHaan film. No one says that. And I'm also thinking, too, how it's like, they don't tell you the plot. They're just like, oh, look at the visuals, it's all pretty. And I'm like, okay, what about his story? No. I mean, all I know is that there's something they have to get in time because of something. Like that. That's it. Because of some reason they have to get something in a time constraint, and that's pretty much the plot. And I'm
one
just
boy,
like, one girl.
They have to get something.
We don't know what it is. Inexplicably, we don't know what it is, but they have to get it.
Valerian, a MacGuffin story.
Go down.
$300 million down the drain.
200 and what was it?
I think it was about $300 million the last time I checked.
Wow.
Everything together.
That's a lot of money.
I got the budget of 180. Was it 100?
That's just the budget of the film itself. I think.
Oh yeah, for promotion marketing.
Yeah.
Back what was it, 97? When James Cameron was promoting Titanic, and he was on Howard Stern, and Howard said to him, "You know what? I kind of want to see where $200 million goes up on the screen." There was that curiosity factor. I am really not that curious to see where it all went here. And it's kind of sad, though. I mean, because it does look spectacular. It really does. But it doesn't really say to me, Scream, you must see this or your life will not be complete.
Yeah, none of the trailers I've seen yet have really grabbed me.
I'm like, I just killed the entire podcast with that statement. What was going on?
Matt was
going to say something.
We're just like absorbing in the fact that this movie is going to be a colossal failure. But go ahead, Matt.
I mean, unless if they're going to lace my popcorn with LSD, I'm not going to this movie for any reason whatsoever, because there's nothing really to pull me in. Just as Beyond said, there's nothing in the trailer that's leading me to go, what happens next? What's the big? Why do you want me to come to this movie?
Yeah, and that's the only reason I'm going is because we made the pact. Go ahead.
Yeah, we made the pact to go. Like, I regret. I'm going to give this movie $16 and I don't want to.
Yeah. Is it gonna be shown in 3D? I mean, this should be shown in 3D. Okay.
Yeah, they're pushing the 3D pretty big. I don't know if it's got IMAX scenes or not, but
probably does. Luc Besson probably went all out and said, "This is going to be my big epic indie film, and it's
$200 million.
So much money.
This movie better do a lot."
And then we'll get into the other subjects in a second too, because we've got to move right along. But one thing I'll say is the fact that Luc Besson is so out of touch with reality that he's just like, one person asked him, do you think that maybe this is possibly a financial risk given the budget and the niche demographic? It's like, oh no, I really think this is going to do really well at the box office. I mean, I don't think it's a risk at all. And I'm just thinking to myself, I say, Lou, buddy.
Well, people in our in the other countries around the world that aren't in America, let us know how you guys feel about this, because I'm real curious, especially if you're from France. I don't know if we got a lot of listeners there, but if we do, let us know down below or in the live chat right now what you guys think about Valerian, because I never heard about it till the movie.
I'll tell you though, the one thing actually that did make me think it was kind of strange, because Tom, I'm a huge fan of the Beatles.
Yes.
Was when I saw the first trailer and they used a part of the vocal from "Because" off of Abbey Road, and I said, "Wow, hey, that's Because." And the first thing that I thought was, this has got to cost at least $200,000 right there. That's right. I mean, yeah. I mean, talk about not. I'm not going to ever say spending money to license a Beatle track is ever a bad idea, but I really have to question the return on their investment on this one.
Was it? Now I can't remember. Now, was it from the actual Beatles song, or was it somebody else singing it? Because if it's somebody else singing it, then it's cheaper.
It sounded like the original track, one of those isolated vocals that you hear on the anthology. I could be wrong, but it did sound to my ears like the original track.
And if that is the case, then yes, that would be very, very pricey. So I guess unless there's anything else anybody else has to say about Valerian or the box office, we could probably move along to D23, because we got a lot to cover there. Anything else you guys got to add?
I'm just surprised that this has 7 production companies tagged to it.
I'm not with $200 million.
Well, like, I can see why this movie is being looked at the way it's being looked at, because you have all these interjecting parties, especially Europa Corp is getting really good. Oh boy.
Well, they're basically planning on going belly up because of this movie.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest right here. I predict it's going to open up at least 4 or 5. Fifth
4
place.
5. Oh, I thought you meant 4 or 5 million. I'm like, whoa, that is extremely
it'll
low.
It'll be lucky to do 15 or 20 million though, with all the competition.
Yeah, if that, maybe. I mean, like I said, you had this movie like imagine if this movie did what Wish Upon did, which was also kind of a failure. Actually, I kind of feel like seeing this movie for like morbid curiosity, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, it did 5.4 mil, which is basically dead in the water.
I heard that movie is like an unintentional comedy that is actually hilarious, but of course, just because it's so horrendously bad that it just reaches a threshold that actually becomes really funny, kind of like what you saw with The Room, which is the most famous worst movie ever, of course. So I think it would be interesting at that movie, and then we'll get into D23 in a minute, that it would be interesting that movie kind of became like a cult hit in a sense, because it's always fun. I consider myself a movie masochist. I like seeing horrible flicks. Anyway, but yes, so moving right along, let's get into the whole D23 shenanigans.
Well, there was a lot of Avengers news at D23, and we'll get into a little bit of it here, but I think we're going to hold off on a bunch of it because I'm hearing a lot of birdies buzz about the trailer dropping next weekend at San Diego Comic-Con, and then of course, once it does, it'll probably be online. That was one of the many things that Disney did not release online, though, for our consumption. Unfortunately, we did get a few nuggets, so we'll talk about those. But they had a great panel, I guess, for the Avengers Infinity War. All kinds of cast members on stage, as you can see by the graphics on right now. What are you guys' feelings coming out? Are you excited for Infinity War? A few people did get to see the trailer and did describe it. I tried to kind of avoid it, but what did you guys think if you heard about it or read about it?
I think I'm sorry, I have lost my train of thought. Go, somebody pick it up, and I'll come back to me in a minute.
I haven't seen anything yet, to be honest, and I'm just gonna wait until they drop it at SD. So.
Okay,
well,
so you didn't
I actually
read
the synopsis, so I guess I can interject and
sure, go ahead,
man. Running on. Yeah, so basically what I heard is that it opens up and there's some monologue, I think from Black Widow, I could be mistaken, but somebody was saying that death follows Thanos like a shadow. Of course, if you guys don't want to hear this, you guys can, cover your ears, whatever, and it's really short. And, kind of showing us some more shots. You get Spider-Man in the trailer. You have... Basically, what I love about the Avengers, what I'm thinking the Russo brothers are doing, is that basically Infinity War, even though it's the third one in the trilogy, it's kind of making a lot of homages to the original Avengers because it was such an iconic superhero film where I heard that Thor meets the Guardians first, and that's how they're introduced into it, and where he comes into their ship or something like that, and he kind of does the same thing, kind of how what he did in the first Avengers, where he just comes out of the sky with lightning coming onto the ship to the
crashes in
shield carrier. So that's what I've heard, and then you have a lot of quips and back and
him
forth.
And Hulk, wasn't it?
I'm sorry.
Was it him and Hulk?
No, it was just Thor.
Just Thor? Okay.
Yeah, you're talking about the first one. It was just Thor. But it was just interesting to see that. I'm just talking about the beginning of the movie when he goes to retrieve Loki at the beginning. So I think they're kind of calling that back to kind of show, oh, these characters are going to come together in such a really cool, almost, real comic book come to life way, where you would just see all these characters in the comics and without any limitation. But moving right along, a lot of other things I heard was a lot of cosmetic changes. Black Widow has blonde hair for some reason. Of course, Chris Evans, Captain America, has a beard, which is interesting. Of course, Spider-Man is going to be sporting the Iron Spider suit. Spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen Homecoming, Tony Stark builds him an Iron Spider suit, so he's going to have that in Infinity War, and I think he's going to need it, because from what I've heard, Thanos is pretty menacing, and I think they're really going to get Josh Brolin's Thanos is going to be the best.
What's funny is Brolin is like the shortest one in the lineup.
Yeah, but he's jacked though. That's the thing. He got his arms jacked, so he must be doing more.
Even than the women, he's like shorter than most of the women too.
I don't know. I don't know how tall he is. He's like
he must not be that tall.
I'm like Chad Boseman's height, about his height, and yeah, I mean he's about Chad. He's not. Yeah, he's to me Ruffalo really is the shortest one. Well, really, Tom Holland actually is probably the shortest. Actually, Tom Holland, yeah, because he's still young. But anyway,
he's actually pretty tall. I think he's almost 6 foot. But yeah, going on.
No, Tom Holland's only 5'9", actually.
Is he okay?
Yeah, but anyway, let's get back on track. Yeah, so basically, that's what I've heard. There's a few other things too. I want to make sure I mention these as well. I know I heard there was like one shot where you see Spider-Man looking up at the sky, I believe, and kind of seeing all of this horrendous, like basically the Avengers 1 times 100 in terms of the severity of it, if that makes sense, where it's like basically, oh, you thought the Loki battle was bad, oh, you it's like that kind of thing. And again, I'll reiterate by saying this, because I know I want to say this as my closing. I think that Thanos will be the best Marvel villain we've ever had. I think they're going to take what they saw in Age of Ultron, where I feel like they did kind of hold a lot of punches with the dark aspects of it, where like, no, there's still quips, and I'm like, yes, I enjoyed Age of Ultron, but there are a lot of missed opportunities, especially the fact that they killed off Ultron, which I feel like Ultron should have still had some remnants or some archive of his consciousness in the net somewhere, and just kind of recuperating or whatever, and some other stylistic choices, but that I won't even get into, the whole shoehorning movies like that are coming out after, advertising for movies that are to come. But nevertheless, again, I really think that they're going to pull this off. I think this is going to be a big film. I say this movie actually may make close to $2 billion if it really hits the mark. I really do.
Right. Well, hoping that the trailer drops next week, I'm going to have more to say about it then, because there's some rumors and stuff I heard. But like I said, I don't really want to get into it now because we have so much other stuff to cover, especially if the trailer does come out next week. Then we'll take more time to talk about it then. But unless Matt or Rob had anything to add about the Avengers, we can move along.
I'm good. I'm good. Just looking forward to the ultra mega throwdown, as I always say.
Oh God, I cannot wait for that. Oh my God, it's going to be so good. And the whole movie's going to be in IMAX. That's the thing.
I believe that's the rumor.
Whole movie's in IMAX, and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait for that. And one thing I've noticed is that the cinematography, you've noticed for the entire Marvel films, ever since Guardians 2, I've noticed they've gotten more vibrant. Have you noticed that even Thor trailer looks more like a comic book? And I really feel like this is going to be so rich and vibrant in IMAX. I'm salivating as I'm saying this. Okay, let's just move on. Let's move on. Okay.
It's gonna be that nice big juicy steak you order, and it's cooked, and it's just rare enough, and it's gonna be better than you probably ever gonna expect it.
Right.
Now I got a pretty interesting rumor for you guys. Hold on one second. Now, I want to say this. This is a big spoiler for those who don't want to have any spoilers about Infinity War. But I did hear there was a flub from Mark Ruffalo. He's in an interview with Don Cheadle. Do you guys want to hear what it is?
Oh,
yes,
earmuffs,
no?
everybody.
I've already heard it. So go.
Okay, so the rumor is that everyone dies And if everyone dies, everyone.
Well, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
that goes with one of the rumors I heard though too. But go ahead, Beyond.
because if that's true, I'm like, that's pretty ballsy. That's pretty ballsy.
Except for Cap,
yeah, except for Cap
and he
Tom
has
Holland.
the time stone, and he uses the time stone to go back in time is the rumor. But anyway, that's what I was going to talk about next week. Yeah, damn it, Barry. So though, speaking of superheroes, and segueing into our next part, the animated films that were announced at D23. A superhero movie that everybody's been waiting quite a long time to hear about, of course, and a few other ones. And if you don't already know what I'm talking about The Incredibles, of course.
Oh,
Yes.
man. That is one of my favorite
Finally.
animated films of all time. I've been waiting over 10 years for this. I mean, it's in the top 10. I know, like, almost every line in that movie in my head. I see it in my sleep. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a big fan of The Incredibles. I'm sorry. Just keep going, Tom. I don't want to take you off your track. You just go right ahead.
No, that's fine. We can talk about The Incredibles first. Like I said, there's
really
quite a
love
few.
The Incredibles.
We're gonna kind of like there's a lot of animated movies that were announced, like Toy Story 4. There was also The Speed Test, which is a Pixar film. There was an Untitled Pixar film that was talked about, which is about a couple of elves who go to see their dad one last time.
And that's a weird one too, because that's being in production with what is it, Disney Animation and Disney Toon, I think.
Possibly, yeah. But then there was Wreck-It Ralph 2 Ralph Breaks the Internet, which I don't get that title. Why didn't they call it Ralph Wrecks the Internet? Yeah, I'm looking that one besides Incredibles 2 is Wreck-It Ralph is the one I'm really, really looking forward to. Toy Story 4, I'm like, I don't know if they should have went past 3. Really.
Well, do you know what I wish they would have done just out of retrospect to how 3 ended? Is that this could have been a TV series. Like, this could have been just, what they were doing with these half-hour Toy Story specials, and they just could have just stayed on TV. This whole story, like, do we really need to see this happen again? Where this little girl, Mindy, grows up and does the same thing over again? Do we really need to have that recycled plot structure?
Well, let's hope that's not what it is. I was going to say, being Pixar and hoping that everything they've done to the Toy Story films to this point being their crown jewel and probably their best of all their films, especially as a trilogy as a whole. I mean, I hope that they don't want to screw this up and they've got something unique as an idea to go forward. Otherwise, hopefully, if it's more of the same, you're right. I'm going to be like, they should have just left it alone or just did a cheap TV show for kids or something, because this is just ridiculous and the same thing.
Actually, I have to disagree. I love me some Toy Story. Okay, right. I love me some Toy Story. Right.
Toy Story is really good. Yeah.
If you look at it, people don't realize it's one of the best trilogies ever made. Every film has like a 90 or 100, 99 or 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. The films are literally perfect. I mean, you have to really go with like a fine micrometer of a pin to find some flaws in the movie. Like maybe there was an animation mistake here or there. Maybe the lighting was off a little there or something like that. Or maybe there was an audio issue. But in terms of story structure, they're near perfect. The thing about this, I think because they're so beloved, why not go further? I mean, like I said, I don't want them to do like a Fast and Furious where Toy Story 4 is when they start becoming like a heist thing and they have to get toys out of some place, or they got to like foil some like scheme of some international toy organization. And then
but I agree with Matt, though. I don't want the same thing again.
But I don't think they're going to do that.
But I'm just saying I don't want the same thing over and over again.
Right.
You did it 3 times perfectly. It's that 4th time that really scares me. It's like, okay, is this going to work or not? What do they got in store for us? I could be totally wrong. The trailer could come out, the movie could look amazing, and it could be like best part 4 you're ever going to get. There was a couple other movies I'm just going to mention quick. Coco, they did a little bit about, which is another Pixar film. Of course, they talked about Frozen 2 and the Olaf adventure spinoff that's going to go along with Coco, which is what the picture is up there. And I know we want to all talk about Incredibles 2 some more. So I guess let's finish up with the Toy Story. Anybody else got any thoughts about Toy Story?
I think this is one that's going to be for a new generation. Like this may be the Toy Story redo in a way.
Oh,
like,
yeah, you're right, Matt. Because keep going. I'll come in after.
Because like I grew up with the 1995 film as a child. Like I was like pint-sized Andy, and by the time Toy Story 3 came out, I was in college. I was in college, ready to get ready, like for my next chapter, and that's why so many are so attached to Toy Story 3 that are in my age demographic, because we adapt to that. We understand what this feeling is, and this is why, like in my theater, you could look left and right and see people my age, grown men, crying because they had to say goodbye to this, and that's the way that they saw Toy Story 3 is by literally saying goodbye to this. Like it's almost. It's not like saying goodbye to your childhood, but it's saying goodbye to that chapter.
Well, and that's where you almost wonder if they shouldn't just leave it on a high note, though, too. And like I said, I could be totally wrong. This could be something great, and I hope I'm wrong. Rob, did you have anything to add about Toy Story?
Not really. I mean, it's like you said, the whole arc of it is sort of growing up and growing past childhood into adulthood, and sort of leaving that part of yourself behind. I mean, you're probably right. I think it is going to start a new chapter. Whether it's going to start a new chapter with another set of toys.
That's what I was going to say too. Like we don't even know. It may not even be the same freaking toys. It might not be. I mean, we don't know. And that's the thing. Like, do toys even age? Like, because they're plastic, so do they live forever? I'm assuming.
As long as they don't get broke, they're fine.
Yeah, but it's just interesting that like there's so many different things. Like, imagine if they did something like, I'm sure they're not, because I know Pixar goes dark, but they don't go dark. Where I'm like, imagine if they had a thing where like they talk about like toy mortality and getting old and like this. Well,
they do go dark. I mean, take a look at
3.
Even Toy Story 3.
I mean,
WALL-E is a pretty dark movie. I mean,
yeah, but for a kids film, I mean, like really, really like adult dark. Like I don't know. They have there.
Well, they have a way of wrapping it in a presentation that I don't want to say tricks you, but you're not realizing what the underlying theme is until afterwards. I'm like, wow, yeah, that was kind of morbid, you know.
It's one of. I'm sorry to interject.
You're fine.
One of Pixar's best qualities is that they're able to immerse you in realism really quick, and you don't even realize it. Like the best one I like to use is not only like WALL-E's a pretty good title, but one scene in Toy Story 3 where you're expecting these toys to just end right there in a Terminator 2 style ending of where they're about to die. You understand that these toys are literally facing mortality themselves, and that this could be the end. Although most people are like, well, no, aliens swing in and save the day. But they are capable of doing that with their realism. I mean, Up is another good example. The first, what is it, 10 to 15 minutes is going through someone's life.
Yeah, I was going to bring up. I was going to say that one's good at tugging at all kinds of strings in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Yeah,
and kids can understand it. That's where I was talking about Secret of NIMH to someone else a couple days ago, and
you were talking to me about it last night too. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And that's one of the best things is that don't dumb it down for kids. And Pixar is not one of those contenders. Like, you can explain this to kids without beating them across the head about the harsh facts of life. And that's one of the beauties of it, is that you had kids understanding what happened through Carl Fredrickson's life and Up. You had people understand what, like, the mortality of toys and the value of what these toys are to children as they grow up, and so on and so on.
Right. Well, and the rumor I heard, not to burst anybody's bubble, I don't know how deep this next one's going to get. The rumor I heard of what this story is going to be is about Woody trying to find Bo Peep. That's what I heard.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that too. Well, actually, I'm kind of for that, because you can make for a really good heartfelt love story.
It could be. It could be like, okay, they get to notice that Woody's lonely. He wants to find Bo Peep, so they get word of where she could have went or something like that. And it could be one of those heartbreaking things where at the end you realize that Bo Peep is gone or whatever because she got destroyed or whatever happened to her or whatever. Ooh. Or she could be still alive. It doesn't matter.
She's in a Goodwill store in Sioux City, Iowa or something. Yeah.
Or just Disney didn't want to bring back Annie Potts, but
Well, that's the plot I heard. They could have changed their minds by now. And we know how Pixar is. They have no problems with scrapping an entire idea and starting from scratch.
Yep,
so.
they do that. Well, I will say one thing. The kind of like, and this kind of harkens back to what specifically Matt was saying. Like, yes, we know Pixar can brilliantly tell really, really deep themes without it being scary. You know what I mean? Like, they can do that, but have you guys ever seen The Brave Little Toaster?
Yes.
Years and years ago.
Okay.
Yes.
You know how dark that gets, especially with some of the themes like suicide and stuff like that?
You have a pink elephants on parade moment in that movie.
Yeah, but I'm just like I mean, and all the innuendos and all that stuff too. That's interjected into that. Like, I don't think Pixar would ever get that meta, but it would be interesting to like in like maybe an alternate universe to see Pixar do something like that. I was just thinking because again, they go like dark, but I mean like I never seen them talk about like suicide or like something real big like that. Like I've yet to see that, and it'll be really interesting just from a creative standpoint to see like how would they handle that? How do you tell that to children? You know what I mean? Like, how do you explain to them, well, you know, sometimes people just don't like life, so they take it from themselves. It's like, how do you do that? You know, but anyway, I don't want to take away from the conversation too much. I was just, curious to know
what's
what you
weird
guys thought
about
that.
You know what's weird about The Brave Little Toaster is that primarily it was animated by Pixar, current Pixar heads now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all the irony of it all.
That is like one of the forgotten Disney films, is it not?
Yeah, it's kind of underrated.
It's one of those. It was distributed by Hyperion and produced by Hyperion as well. And so it's one of those films that just kind of falls into that gray area of the animation studios.
Yeah,
that
pretty
makes
much.
sense, yeah.
It just fell under the radar. But yeah, so anyway, moving right along. So of course we also have
the
to
other
cover...
ones that maybe talked about real quick, were the speed test. I think they weren't sure if that had anything to do with planes, but it did kind of look similar from what they said.
It's
so
just
I'm
speed
not
tests?
really.
What did you refer to, Tom? I was kind of confused.
John Lasseter's speed test. It's about two jets facing off against one another.
Oh yes, I haven't heard of that. No, yes, please do continue. Yes.
Well, basically, that didn't much come out of it other than they weren't completely clear whether or not it was connected to planes or not. That has a 2015 date.
All I know is that if it has a trailer that has a danger zone in it, I'm leaving.
That's funny because it says it looks like it's a scene straight out of Top Gun from the explanation here.
No. Because if I recall the planes trailer, it did have a danger zone in it. So
Danger zone.
Highway to the danger zone.
Hey, I remember a time when you had to have a hit soundtrack. There was only one man you turned to.
You went to Kenny Loggins.
Kenny Loggins, that's the guy. Yeah.
Kenny Loggins, the guy that would make you go to Caddyshack and go, "Oh, this movie's not that bad."
Yeah.
And I guess go ahead.
Caddyshack is awesome.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, a lot of comics. I know a lot of comics love Caddyshack. They know they get a lot of inspiration from that. Is that true, Rob? That like a lot of comics like.
Well, not just that. It's considered in a lot of people's top 10 lists, if not the number one best comedy of all time on some people's lists.
Well, Rodney's in it. So Rodney Dangerfield. I mean,
that's just it. You've got a cast that you could not, get together again, basically.
It was like a once in a lifetime situation for sure.
And it's that classic scene when he's in the pro shop, which he actually repeated in Back to School. Oh, geez, I'll take 4 of those, 2 of those, 3 of those. And what's with the hat? Buy this hat to get a free bowl of soup. It looks good on you. You know,
though.
He kind of sounds a little like Sylvester Stallone.
A little bit.
Rob is the guy you always want to be. The guy who just goes into, hey, it's on me, guys. Drinks for everybody, Yeah. It's just the millionaire who's just like down to earth, but and you just like, you've got class. and like you said, he seems obnoxious, but he's just a great guy. So.
Well, Caddyshack is just one of those underrated films, but I guess that could lead us into live action films.
Did you guys want to cover Coco? I'm sorry.
Well, I don't
got
have much to say about Coco, but go ahead.
It was interesting. I mean, the whole thing with the Mexican Day of the Dead and a kid trying to find his deceased ancestors. It seems interesting. Like I said, another kind of dark kind of theme for Pixar. You know, dealing with.
I thought it
mortality.
kind of looked like the movie that came out a couple of years back, but Amethyst said that it
Corpse
wasn't anything like it. No, it was like the Day of the Dead or Book of the Dead.
Oh, the guys that did, wasn't it the guys that did the box trolls? I thought. I'm like,
So yeah, it was for I can't remember what company, but she said no, it was nothing like that. So, and I never saw the film, so I have to take her word on that. But
anything on Incredibles? Like,
Oh, the Incredible.
Oh, yes. Okay.
just,
yes.
yeah,
Glad-
yeah, that's right. We skipped over
Glad
Incredibles. My bad.
you reminded me. So I'm going to take over for a couple minutes. I want to talk about one of my favorite edited movies.
Well, first
The
we got to
Incredibles.
say the original cast is back, and the
Everyone's
movie
back.
picks up right after the original film.
Everyone's
So
back,
that's
right. Yeah, that's how it does.
basically all I had to add.
Oh, the Underminer! We're gonna have him coming back. That villain, he's gonna be
Yes.
there. It's gonna be right after. They say it's gonna be just a couple seconds after. I am so excited. Since 2004, I'm like, I want my sequel. I've been waiting over 10 years to finally get a sequel. They said it's going to be focusing on Helen Parr this time around. Basically, kind of like it's going to be like one film is about the dad, then the next film is about the mom, then maybe maybe in about the year, maybe 2049, they can have one about the children, perhaps, maybe if they ever get around to that. You know, giving
We'll
their
never
really,
see it.
really consistent track record, of course. But nevertheless, I'm really excited. I am actually a little bit disappointed because I would have liked to have seen Helen and Bob be a little bit older, and also have, you know, Violet and Dash and Jack. I would really be a little bit older, just so I would like to see the dynamic of them change. How Jack, how he's like. It'll be interesting, like maybe if Jack like was a very special boy, not just in his superpowers, but let's say he like is autistic or something. I know that sounds very very niche, but it would be interesting to see like how that plays into his powers because he's so creative or whatever. I mean, it was just, you know, just throwing out ideas as I'm, you know,
They
saying
could
it.
jump ahead like they did in the first film. It could start out right after the first film, but then jump ahead.
It could be a
like
time.
the first-
I would really love to see a time skip too. I would love to see a time skip, but
Right, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, but nevertheless, I hail The Incredibles as one of the best animated films ever made. It's so perfect, and the thing about it is that it's a movie. It's not even a kids film. It's an adult film in basically the aesthetic of a kids film. It's about a man, a middle-aged, you know, all-American dad.
Yeah,
that just wants
you
to
almost
relive the
had to
glory
have grown
days.
up though with stuff like Batman, the '66 Batman. You had to grow up with stuff like Super Friends. You had to grow up with stuff like that to really get a lot of the in jokes. But at the same time, kids could enjoy it because it was colorful and it was your basic kind of.
It
The film is
perfectly
brilliant.
captures that 1961, 62, like Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, Marvel, Steve Ditko,
Right.
Marvel aesthetic.
Well,
Perfectly
basically, it takes
captured.
place in an alternate universe where, like, the '60s has a lot more technology. Kind of how if you look back at history, how, like, each era has a vision of the future, like, 10, 20, 30 years down the line. And you can kind of see where this is kind of like that thing of, oh, this is how people thought the '60s was going to be, where, you know, you have, you know, some of that technology there. But it's also, it has some futuristic stuff, but it's still in the '60s, and I just love the aesthetic of the film. Again, it's a very classic Marvel feel to it, and I just can't wait to see the sequel. And there's actually one thing I had a theory. I wish this would have came into prominence. Is that I would have loved to see a movie where Jack is older, and they basically pull a Chronicle where he becomes the villain of the movie because he's just so out of control with his power, or he doesn't. He either does it because he becomes like a very like troubled child, or he can be a thing where he's like, example is like maybe Patrick Stewart, Charles Xavier in Logan, where he does it unintentionally because he doesn't know how to control his power, and they basically have to contain him, and he's growing up his entire life like, why am I in this containment field, and why is this and why is that, and you know that could be a really deep thing. And how like it tears the family apart to have to keep secrets from their child, and you know I don't want to get going too deep because I really like The Incredibles, so but
Now, Brad Bird is coming back as director, right?
oh yes, he better come back.
Yes.
He better come back.
Yeah, they're almost, as far as I know, they're pretty far into the film already. Because this comes out. Shoot, when does it come out?
2019.
Yes.
June 15, 2019.
All right, but that means they're still pretty far. They're still getting pretty deep and starting into production because these animated films take a couple of years, like 3 years altogether, I think, between initial writing and planning down to animation and everything. So yeah, I'm a big fan of The Incredibles. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just going to let Rob, if you have anything to say about it, and then Matt, you can add in too, and then we'll kind of move on to.
The only thing I had to say is I actually did not see The Incredibles in the theater. I saw it later.
Same with me too. I saw it on DVD.
I bought the DVD and it just sat on my shelf for a while. Then I said, "Hey, wait a minute! I've never actually seen this." And I was just like, "Why didn't I see this earlier? Damn it!" So, but very much looking forward to The Incredibles too. That's all. That's all I got to say.
And just to correct, like I did look it up, and it's June 15th, 2018, and it will begin
even
an
better.
IMAX release too.
So then that means they're way into production then. So they'll be.
It's coming out very, very soon, just around the corner, and I cannot wait. I'm gonna be foaming at the mouth as soon as
we'll even be getting a teaser trailer by Christmas then for sure.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that.
You're gonna be seeing this with you're gonna be seeing that trailer most likely with Last Jedi.
Right,
Yeah.
that's very possible.
But
we'll get into Last Jedi later too.
Yeah, we got that to move into. Because, I mean, as far as Frozen 2, I think we need to let it go. We ain't got time for that.
Oh, let's not.
Anybody got time for that? Anybody got time for that? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I get the appeal for Frozen. I actually get a little kick out of the film, but I do understand the immense, ever-growing disdain and venom at Frozen, because I remember there was a time in 2013 where it was everywhere, man. It was everywhere, and you could never escape.
Crack for kids.
It was the Titanic for Disney. But no, and I said this to Matt last night. I said the thing with this is, and this goes along with the whole Wonder Woman thing I said before too, is it had been so long since Disney themselves, because it wasn't a Pixar film, that Disney Animation themselves had a good movie. So finally, when Frozen came out and it wasn't a piece of shit, it was actually semi-decent, everybody just lapped it up like it was going out of style, and then you add in the music and the everything else. It was just perfect for them.
I mean, it has an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.7 score, a 7.5 on on IMDb. And I'm sitting here like, here's the thing. I would give this movie actually, you know what? For visuals, I think the movie looks amazing visually. The movie is beautiful. Visually, it's ridiculously good. I mean, some of the best animation Disney has put out. But when it comes to the story is kind of short. It is kind of like a Wonder Woman effect, where it felt like, because it was a kind of this like female-driven movie, it's like, because it was female-driven means that it's withhold from criticism, and that it's kind of this thing where you're looking at the movie, and it has this thing where you have a not very sustainable plot, and then the third act it falls apart, kind of like what I thought with Wonder Woman, where the movie starts out okay, and then the third act falls apart, like the same thing with Frozen, how you have and the creators even pointed out, they say, hey, the villain in the movie was a last-minute decision.
Right. Well, and what I was meaning basically though was like, their last like 5 movies or 6 movies up to that point, other than Tangled, which is also kind of mediocrely, got kind of a mediocre response. To me, I seen the film like, okay, it's better than average, but it's about it. But like I said, since Disney themselves hadn't had a really good movie up to this point in a while, that everybody just ate it up and was going crazy about it, and it was a movie for young girls, and they really attached themselves to it, and that's fine. That happens. It was a movie of its time. It was a lot like, Little Mermaid and stuff like that were 20 years ago, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, it's the next generation. As far as doing an actual Frozen 2, we know it's going to make fucking $1 billion.
Oh, it's going to make about 1.6 is going to be all over.
Probably. Oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
I'm going to go into Walmart. It's going to be everywhere. I mean, slowly but surely, it's like less and less Frozen each year. I'm like, okay, thank you. I can breathe now. And then it comes back again. And it's like, what are you going to do?
And they're going to hit the second one harder than the first one. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is one of those films, like, where to go back to what you were saying. This is kind of like that whole Disney Renaissance start, where you did have that brief period of Disney films after Walt's passing during the production of Jungle Book, where you did have these animation misfires, where although they were still good
late
films,
70s and 80s, yeah.
Yes, and then you had I think Little Mermaid was the start of it all, where you started seeing this rise that became the Disney Renaissance, where you had Aladdin, Lion King, and and other titles that I can't think up at this point. But you have this. It could be this happening again, but I do have that Wonder Woman kind of feel to it. Like we have had all these animated films in the 2000s, not Pixar included, of course. But you have a lot of these titles, like especially like ones like Home on the Range, that were just like, okay,
the Frog
it's cool.
Princess, and I mean, some people liked that film, but I didn't.
I kind of did. I mean, it was a new thing, and like I guess the era of where, or the place setting of where it was kind of interesting to me.
I kind of thought it was a little too on the nose in some things, but I don't want to even get into all that shit.
Well, and lest we not forget, it gave Oprah some money too to be in that movie.
Oh, Oprah. She's in The Wrinkle in Time, which could lead us into the live action movies, But speaking of that, I watched that trailer, and Oprah'd have to give me a car to actually make me go see it, because I don't know. It just looked like too much like everything else we've gotten lately. But anyway, back to where we were.
Well, why don't we just delve into the whole Lion King? That deserves its own segment in itself, the whole Lion King live action film. Of course, James Earl Jones is going to be back. We're going to have a whole brand new cast, including people like Beyonce, and I'm just like, she can't.
And they announced Hugh Jackman as Scar this weekend. That was one of the big announcements.
That's actually kind of cool. I like that.
I can do
the footage is supposedly amazing. And the big thing that Favreau was like boasting about was during the actual filming, they had the actors on a green screen set or whatever in costumes that would, track them for their motion. But the actors themselves actually had headsets on where they were in a virtual reality so they could see around them, so that hopefully that'll help with their performance.
That's really cool. It's basically like VR, where it helps with the immersion. It's a lot easier to really emote and really get that feel of like that realism out there if you have some VR to go off. Of course, it doesn't have to be super realistic, just something CGI, so you can say, oh, okay, this is what I have to look at, so I know, so it's not like this thing of like, oh, what do I look at? And because you get some cringe films, especially back in the day, where it's obvious that no one's really there and it just looks cringy.
Right. And there's that famous story where Ian McKellen broke down into tears on the Hobbit set because he got sick and tired of filming on green screens all day.
Yeah, I feel bad for the man, but hey, that's Hollywood for you. All about that CGI.
Is Seth Rogen's in this too?
He plays Timon and then Pumbaa. I forgot who's Pumbaa.
I actually think that's no. I actually think that may be a good idea. Okay. I'm Seth Rogen.
And then
I'm the funniest man of Hollywood.
Hey, Timon. Hey, what's this plan over here?
All I have to ask is who at Disney's is Seth Rogen getting pot for that he landed this role?
Good point. I mean, like, and as Timon, it's
Timon. I'm sorry, backward. I got it flipped around, but yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Timon is being voiced by Billy Eichner. I can't remember that. Yeah, he was best known for playing Craig Middlebrooks on Parks and Recreation. If that rings any bells.
Not really.
I never watched this guy. I don't know who this kid is. I mean, this gentleman. I don't know. Never heard of him. I'm like,
actually, the one little bit of casting news I was kind of excited for. John Oliver is going to be playing Zazu.
I can see. Like, I look at like Zazu's character, but I just like Rowan Atkinson so much more. Like, I believe that he sold it a little bit more as this uptight individual.
I actually think John Oliver could bring a lot to it.
Oh yeah.
I know. Like, some people like us, all of them. Some people don't. I'm kind of in the middle with him. Of course, I'm not even going to go there when it comes to politics or anything like that. But it's kind of this in terms of the talent, yeah, he's a funny guy. He's really sharp. He knows how to bring the quips.
Right.
He knows how
Donald
to make people
Glover
laugh.
is also in the film. Billy Eichner.
Well, I was about to say, if you ever
Jeff
saw John
Nathanson.
Oliver when he was on Community, he was actually really good on that. He was always really good. Yeah. He wasn't on all the time, but when he was on, he was really, really good.
And the weird thing is that out of all the Disney remakes, I'm all for like the Jungle Book still. Like they actually feel like solid films that aren't just a rehashing of what's been provided by the animation. I'm like, I can't watch.
The Jungle Book was pretty decent, actually. Yeah.
It is. It is a really
That's the only
decent
reason I'm
film.
looking forward to this is because The Jungle Book is so far the only one of these rehashes that I've liked.
But here's the
I
thing,
haven't
too.
seen Cinderella, but I hated Beauty and the Beast, and I hated Maleficent.
But here's the
so.
thing, too. We got to say something about Jungle Book. The Jungle Book, in terms of the graphical, the visuals and the technology, out of this world. I could not tell what was CGI and fake most of the time. Sometimes I could, but it's like, you look at this and you're like, this was all on the soundstage in like California or whatever, or it was
Right.
Atlanta. And I'm like, okay, Jon Favreau, okay, I see you. All right, give him Iron Man 4. You know, why don't you? You know what the funny thing is? There's one thing we're forgetting. There's one thing we're forgetting. Andy Serkis's Jungle Book. Whatever happened to
That
that?
just kind of went to the wayside, didn't it? I don't know if they're even still doing it.
I don't
Yeah,
think
it
it's
does.
canon. I don't think there's any point. I think Andy Serkis just got really screwed, where he's just like, yeah, you know what? I mean, because here's the thing. Imagine if Disney was like, you know what? We're dropping a Jungle Book movie in 2018. I'm just saying it hypothetically. It's just going to be like, oh, well, you got to push it again and push it again and push it again. And I remember, Andy Serkis did some damage control where it's like, oh, well, maybe it's actually good because it gives me more time to fix everything up and make sure everything looks good. And I can work on apes a bit more. And I'm just like, just drop it, Andy. Just let it go. Just let it go.
Let it go to Disney.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Oh God.
Let it go to. Yeah.
It's in our heads. It won't leave. Why won't it leave? Why won't it leave my head?
Yeah, and then I guess to segue into the other live action news, besides Dumbo, they had Tim Burton.
Why?
Which his version is going to star Eva Green, Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, and Colin Farrell. And yeah, I'm kind of on the Y train on that. So that's why I figured we wouldn't even really talk about that too much unless anybody really had anything to say about that one.
I said my piece. I just said why.
Okay, so let's move on then to Aladdin. There was a big
Right.
announcement as far as the casting there goes.
Oh boy.
Of course, Will Smith was the big talk. He's finally signed, sealed, and delivered the deal as the genie. We also got our Aladdin and Jasmine. What do you guys think?
I'm just surprised that
I
Sinbad
don't
didn't
care.
get a shot at
I
it.
just don't care. I don't give a crap.
Yeah, I see this being a lot like the Beauty and the Beast remake. I'm not looking forward to this one at all.
I really think that this is going to be the one where, I think we talked about this a little bit last night, where this is going to be the one where you're going to have a lot of Robin Williams fans, especially or people that respected the genie role a lot and took it dear to heart, and are just going to see Will Smith just rehashing this as something that shouldn't have been rehashed. Like, this is a character, especially a character, and you're going to see this in Jumanji too, where they say that they're going to have something that's going to tie the story of Alan Parrish from the original 1995 film and have something to do with it. But I really don't see how they're going to tribute Robin Williams in this movie in any way whatsoever.
Right, and I know people are going to be disappointed because the rumor for the longest time was there was so many outtakes from the original few films that he did, because he did the first and the third Aladdin film.
Yep.
So there was there was tons of outtakes. We should be able to come together and bring his voice back into the movie. That's what everybody was hoping
I think
for.
they actually should have done that, but
They should have.
They could have done it in a way that was like a homage and respectful to honor Robin Williams.
Well, you use all the outtakes and stuff you didn't get to hear, and I'm sure he did enough takes of the standard dialogue that you could do enough with it that none of it would be the exact same dialogue and stuff from the other film.
Right. But I just I don't want to get on the whole whitewashing thing, because apparently that's avidly present in this.
Actually, no. Actually, if you look at the chick that's playing, she's Indian. She's Indian.
Oh, really?
Yep. I did my research. Yeah, I looked on there. She's part Indian, so I mean it's fine. I mean, she actually looks like Jasmine, and she's Indian because you have, if you look at India's region, they have lighter skin, darker skin Indians, so they have a mix of both. But if you look at Jasmine, she's pretty fair skin, and she is
Naomi
Indian.
Scott is her name.
Yeah,
Naomi
and
Scott
she's
is her
Indian.
name, and then the actor. Sorry, I did say it before, and I'm going to butcher his name. I'm sure. Mina Masood.
Yeah, I think he's also. You can tell he's Indian, or at least from that region at least.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I mean, I like the idea. Okay, if you're not going to do, obviously, it would be a mistake to try and get somebody like Williams, like Jim Carrey, or somebody like that to fill in the role, because you're like, you're going to get something that's just too close. I get the idea of getting somebody like Will Smith, but at the same time, who wants this? That's what I don't understand.
No one. I don't think anyone really wants this movie.
I still don't even understand how Beauty and the Beast is still the top grossing film of the year. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think that was because of all the nostalgia of the original. That just goes to show you how much the original one was so fantastic. But the new one is like, again, I haven't seen it, but I've heard so many stories of it just being, it's just a rehash. It's the same thing you've seen over again.
Well, if they do the same thing they did in Beauty and the Beast, it's going to be horrible, because all that is the same damn movie with a few padded extra scenes added in. And I said it in my review that nothing they did on the Beast required CGI other than his feet and legs. They could have done the whole top part of the Beast as prosthetics and makeup, and it would have looked much, much better. But anyway, I just digress. I mean, here this is a little bit different story, because we obviously know that Will Smith's genie is going to be completely computer generated,
right?
And chances are almost the entire world is going to be completely computer generated. We're going to have another similar situation where you just got a bunch of actors in front of green screens for the most part, basically.
And like, I would have preferred, like, because this is a Guy Ritchie film where, you know, I just don't know why. Like, I'd rather see like guys like Jon Favreau being the, you know, Favreau kind of proved himself to do these things. Like, he's been with. Like,
well, he proved he was going to bring more to the table than what was already in the other films.
Right. Like, you don't, like, as we talked, another thing we talked about yesterday was that, like, these are adaptations off of animation, or was it animated based films that will never lose their luster, but these live action films will. That
exactly.
billion dollar Beauty and the Beast is going to lose its luster and be forgotten.
In 20 years from now, it's going to look like shit, as to where the original Beauty and the Beast from 1991 will still be timeless. That's basically what you're.
Yeah, you can watch that in any time period. The animation still holds up incredibly well, and
because it tried to be better than what was in the past Disney films, especially like Little Mermaid. They wanted to go past that. They wanted to try different things, but the technology they used in it still holds up.
Oh, really? I agree. And even the original Disney movies are still holding up to this day. So that's just something that is just a head scratcher all around. So really, unless anybody had anything else to say about Aladdin, we really need to get into the big news of the day or the weekend. Not too much more, because then we got to pay John Williams, and he's expensive.
Oh, yes, he is. And there it is right there. Good old Star Wars The Last Jedi, gentlemen.
We've only gotten one trailer so far, but we got this really, really juicy behind-the-scenes video, very reminiscent of the one we got for Force Awakens. But I would say we got a lot more in this one. What do you guys think?
I can't tell you how excited I am for some Star Wars. Okay, well, first of all, let me start with this. Okay, let me compose myself, because, of course, I'm a big Star Wars fan. Okay. I thought The Force Awakens was very good. I thought it was very solid. I gave it basically maybe a 7.8 out of 10, 7.9 out of 10. Very solid. I think The Last Jedi is going to be not only one of the greatest, probably one of the greatest Star Wars movie up there, either next to Empire or better than Empire. I really think that. And also one of the best sci-fi movies of this generation. I think Rian Johnson, and you can tell the way John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, and everyone other the cast is talking about, they're like, this guy's going to do something that you're not going to expect. Something's going to happen in this movie that you're not expecting. Stuff's going down with this film, and I'm like, I can feel it. There is some serious dark stuff that's going to happen in this film, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait to figure out what it is. Like, is Rey going to turn to the dark side? Is Luke going to turn to the dark side? Is Kylo Ren going to become a Jedi instead, and make a complete 180 and on the Force, and all these other questions? And it's so interesting to me, because Jedi, and what I love about the movie is that I can see where Rian Johnson kept some of J.J. Abrams' cinematography and visual style and the way it's shot, but it still has a Rian Johnson feel to it, so it's like consistency. Because if you look at the original trilogy, each film, even though it's by a different director, has a George Lucas feel to it. This new trilogy, even though a different director, they have their own staple on it, but they're still within this unanimous thing. A perfect example is what we see with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I think Rian Johnson is going to do something with this movie that is going to blow everyone away, and I cannot wait. And I think this new film is finally going to be the Star Wars film we've all been waiting for. I think Rogue One was kind of like, again, it was essentially a side story, and that's why I don't think it did as well as it could have. I mean, it made $1 billion, but I think it could have made more if they would have fixed a couple stuff. But I think Star Wars: The Last Jedi is not only going to make probably, I would say it's going to make in the ballpark of what Force Awakens did, but I also think, moreover, it's going to be the most critically acclaimed one out of all.
Do you know what I also think that hurt Force Awakens box office? If you want an honest opinion about that, too.
No. Force Awakens did amazing. It's like the third highest.
No, I know, but it would have been much better if they would have released it in the summer, because in the Midwest and other areas in the North where it's wintertime, it is difficult to get to the theater more often. I would have seen Force Awakens 2 or 3 more times in the theater had it not been in the winter.
That's a good suggestion. I know that this one is coming out, and to be honest with you, I actually prefer that Star Wars movies come out in December, because how I feel the Star Wars movie is, it's like this return to Mecca, where like every year it's the holidays, you get your family together and you go down to the movie theater, you sit down and you get some magic, that feeling, and juxtaposed with the feeling of Christmas and around the holidays is just, that goodness of Star Wars. But I do agree. I mean, you can go either way. Star Wars is kind of like, it's a weird hybrid. It can either be a really great winter film or a really great summer film. It's really weird. It can do both.
I'm just saying that.
Being where, because I'm also from Wisconsin with Tom as well, where I do agree with that. I do see the validity of it having, because we were just talking about the whole box office, like what we were talking about earlier, the whole sandwiching Oreo effect on these movies where you're just stacking and stacking and stacking. Christmas kind of has that, or Christmas or late winter for that, or not, midwinter I should say, has that honeypot effect, especially on Disney, because you can isolate the calendar just enough to get this, because the only thing that's going against this film on Christmas is Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, and I'm already firmly, avidly saying that, especially in my trailer breakdown, that Jumanji isn't going to stand a chance.
No, it'll be lucky to get some spillover, and that's about it.
It's going to get completely demolished by the force that is Star Wars. You see what I did there?
If it makes $12 million, I'll be surprised.
Yeah,
and like I said, it'll just be because of spillover, and that's it.
Right.
I think Sony knows there's no good time to release Jumanji. So, okay, send it out there, let it go, take its lumps. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. But back to Star Wars.
Right. So the best thing I saw in this behind the scenes is more practical effects. I praise practical effects ever since when I was a child and I first saw like Gremlins, Ghostbusters, all that. I love practical effects, and I've in film school we have this rule where our practical effects, they do a demo every year. With the stuff that they've made in the shop, and they always have this tenet where you do practical effects as far as you can possibly go, and any element you can't capture with the physical effect that you have produced, then and only then do you ever go to CGI. There is no excuse for these rapid star battles that like they did in the prequels, which I just didn't really care for.
Right. Everybody makes a big deal out of the episode 3 scene in the beginning being a big 5-minute long one shot. It's like big deal. It was all done in a computer.
You don't need it. And you see these, especially in the behind the scenes where you see this Mon Calamari Admiral Akbar character holding their what is it, the clapboard. It's a Millennium Falcon clapboard.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was pretty sweet.
It's a wrap.
That's a wrap. It's a wrap. And you look at that and I'm like, that's not CGI. That's someone that actually put their heart and soul into this, and not something in post-production, because they care about this. They care about this to make it look real. They want it to stand the test of time, and so far from the looks of it, this is going to be a movie that is going to stand that lovely, lovely test.
Yeah, no argument there. I pretty much agree with all you guys. You guys pretty much have said it all, really. I really don't have much more to add than someone who loves Star Wars, has always loved Star Wars. And thank you, Mr. Motorcycle, for driving by this right now.
Now I heard him. It was better than the cop horn, the cop sirens at first.
Yeah.
Rob, if it's Tim Allen in a leather jacket, just run.
Run hard, run fast, run long. So, but like I said, you guys pretty much said it all. You know, we haven't seen a trailer yet, so but we have an idea. Well, we got that first teaser, but I'm just hoping it's gonna be as good as I'm expecting it to be.
Yeah, I think it is.
Whole agreement there.
Yeah, I think it's gonna blow everyone away.
Can't fucking wait. This is gonna be one of the biggest films of all time.
Oh yeah.
I see one thing I noticed with the behind the scenes video is they showed a lot of Leia.
Mm-hmm.
There was the scene with Laura Dern. I can't make out if that's Leia talking to her or Lando.
Who knows? I'm not too sure either. I couldn't really see.
Because Leia does have a similar coat with that same kind of collar, so it could be Leia. But anyway, yeah, I love the look of it. I'm glad we're obviously going to get a lot of Luke. We already seen that. We see that, obviously, Rey's... We're getting some weird noise. Rey's training gets pushed along farther. We got to see Kylo Ren's new mask. We got to see... the sets and the tone that I'm getting from the video we got is very Empire-esque, but the movie itself doesn't look like it's going to be an Empire ripoff. Don't get me wrong, and I know that's what a lot of people are afraid of. So, I mean, I'm looking so forward to this movie. I can't wait.
It's one of my higher anticipated movies of this year. I'm salivating for this movie. Like love
this year has just been a great year for movies.
Yes, I love the dark tone. I'm like, bring it on. Give me more. I want it. I want the Empire feel. The best Star Wars movie. Anyway, so I think pretty much we covered everything, gentlemen. I think we did a pretty good time. We're about an hour and 10 minutes in so far. I think we did a pretty nice, good old, good fat special, chock full of D23 news.
Well, did nobody else had anything to say about Star Wars then? Because we could maybe take a question or so from
viewer questions. If you guys are listening, drop them down.
I was just looking at the trailer. I was looking over the behind the scenes, and I am fairly adamant that is Laura Dern talking to Carrie Fisher or Princess Leia, because looking at that arc of that collar, that looks exactly like Leia's overcoat.
Okay, thanks. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. So yeah, I don't think anybody's got any questions. It looks like so. No questions out there? Anybody?
No, it takes a little bit of time. There's a little bit of delay.
That's true. Yes.
If not, I'm gonna
forgot about that.
Out of here. So I got other stuff to do. But it was great being with you guys. I really and our new guest Rob, you did a fantastic. No, not Matt. Matt, you did a fantastic job today. I mean
we got
that.
A question from Neil.
I mean that.
Oh.
Okay. Oh yes. Okay. I'll read it off. So, do you feel like a lot of people, do you feel like a lot of people for The Last Jedi are ignoring the fact that we are going to see the first Jedi Temple? Because I feel like it will tie into the plot. Yes, because you did see their book. Remember in the teaser, the little Jedi book. So I think it would factor in quite a bit, Mr. Neil.
Yeah.
So yes, to answer your question. So I don't know. What do you guys think as well too? Not just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think it's something it's something we want to see too. The first Jedi Temple.
I think we're going to find a lot more out about the Jedis in general. I think
that's one of the things about the prequels that we really did want, in some sense, was just where did what does the training take place? Where does it that was literally my only interest in the whole prequel, is how the Jedi. How the Jedi train, how the Jedi learn, and not this, the overly political stuff that they're doing. Like, oh, we need to sit in the Jedi Council. I'm like, oh boy, another mini Senate.
Talk about them trade federation and those
and that's to be clear. Yeah, to be clear, what I meant as far as learning more about the Jedi, I meant the prehistory between the Jedi and the Sith and that kind of stuff that they didn't really touch on in the prequels that we all wanted to know.
Faye is saying, Faye James in the chat is saying, ain't there one in the prequels though? I'm like, yes, actually, that's on Coruscant. But we're talking about the first Jedi Temple that allegedly is tucked away in a secret location somewhere.
Right,
so.
It's probably where Luke is. Maybe he has it. But here's an interesting thing too. You know what I really would love, and I really feel like Disney needs to get on this. I want a Knights of the Old Republic Game of Thrones series on HBO.
Yes.
Please just give it to me now. Like, just have it can even be a mini series of maybe like 10 episodes. I mean, just give it to me. Shoot the whole thing in film. You'll make your money back. You're gonna make it back easily. I
don't care if it's on Netflix, just because they got such a good deal with was it Marvel Studios or Marvel Television Studios on Netflix.
Oh,
Disney does, yeah.
Yeah, and then they can make the revenue like that.
I mean, as much as like I know it's a series that people get split on, but even the Clone Wars series touches more on the whole Jedi aspect better than the prequels ever did, where you do have a sense of like what the training is all about, why the way even a character like Ahsoka Tano is the way she is in what is it, Disney's Lucasfilm series, what is it called, Star Wars Rebels, where you do get the sense of what the training is all about, or like why these characters turn out the way they do.
Right, absolutely. I like interconnected stories that really give you a real deep, in-depth look at the characters and their interrelationships with one another. I think we have another question as well too. Not a question. Let me see. I may be. No, that wasn't a question. That was more of a statement from somebody else.
From the Tony Uniopoulos, that guy.
Yeah. I thought that was a question. It's really this is a statement. Well, in that case, if there's no other questions, you want to go ahead, Tom. You and I can go ahead and announce that this will be our final episode. That's right, guys.
Yes.
We're going to be closing down our doors here at Film Buffet Podcast. We're no longer going to be ceasing operation, and it's a sad time because Tom and I, we did a great job, working together, really building this up, and sadly, it's going to come. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're going to be merging with Midnight's Edge, and we're going to be coming Midnight's Edge After Dark in a couple days, and I'm already going ahead and getting the intros ready for the big shift, and Tom and I are going to be working for a couple hours so we can set some time aside this week and really work on reinvigorating the format so it fits as well with Midnight's Edge, of course, and we're really excited for that change. For those who don't know, we're going to be working with Andre, who's, of course, going to be the head of everything. And please tell everybody, like anybody who's a Midnight's Edge fan that let them know. Spread this on Facebook. Let anybody like spam Facebook, say, hey, look, Film Buffet Podcast is joining Midnight's Edge. Just let everyone know. Let your family, your grandfather, your mother, your like kind of your basement dwelling cousin, let everybody know about this change, because we want to get a lot of people on this. We want to get more people on the podcast so we can really interact with fans as well. And of course, we're going to be launching a Patreon campaign discussing how you guys can help us financially to really give you guys better content, better quality of content, and all that good jazz. So, of course, Tom, is there anything else you wanted to add as well?
No, I just I look forward to all the changes ahead, and of course there's going to be more said about it, some special videos, and things will be changing over, and a lot of big changes coming forward, so I'm looking forward to that. And of course we'll be letting you guys know more about what's going on as the days go forward. I want to thank everybody who's joined me all this time over, well, first of all, like Beyond and Rob, who have helped me out a lot here in the last couple months, and then prior to this, I've been trying to get this place up and running for over 2 years now, after I worked on a blog for many, many years. So this whole adventure's been quite a few years in the making, all the way back to 1994 when I wrote my first published review.
You got to show me that one time. I got to see that.
I can see if I could dig it up. But yeah,
what was it for? What movie was it for again?
My first two reviews were for Tommy Boy and Bad Boys. So it was a boy double feature there. But yeah, a long time ago. I mean, I've been an avid film fan since I can remember, and I'm just glad to be able to have this opportunity and experience to, expand the world of Midnight's Edge and be able to reach more people than I ever did before, for sure, and help Andre at the same time, and all the other guys like Rob and Grant and all those guys at Midnight's Edge. We're going to be one big great happy family, hopefully, and you guys enjoy it as well. And the channel is going to be changing, so like I said, keep an eye out for that. And
yeah, we don't want to announce too much. Sorry to interrupt you, just because I know you were saying it to me too, Tom. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away. I just thought we may just give them a briefing, just give them an idea that we are going to be.
But yes, this is actually technically going to be the actual last Film Buffet podcast. So we are continuing under the new name, of course, and everything is going to go forward. Most of the things are going to stay very similar, but hopefully you'll notice the change and all across the board and enjoy the changes along with the original content that you already know and love. So, yeah.
All right, sounds good, gentlemen. So, is there anything else you wanted to say before we go off the air?
I may be doing emoji movie for a trailer breakdown.
Soon, I hope.
We got to work on that for sure.
Soon, we've been working on her already. Yeah, he's a perfectionist.
I'm sorry. When you're in film school, you get burned by professors so badly when you're just like, you could do tweaks here, but I'm pretty much going to do a raw cut of the rant itself following the trailer synopsis, and I'm going to be covering Wreck-It Ralph, Inside Out, and Lego Movie, because these seem to be the three movies that are just being blended together in this Sony production that everybody asked for, and I feel kind of bad for this production capital group that L-Star, I think it is, that's just getting swindled out of this one, because apparently they really didn't want to do this at all. So I kind of feel for them, and if they walk out of the door, more power to them, and one more step closer to Sony just completely collapsing itself. But
right.
Yeah, it'll be fun hearing this little this.
That was a good preview, yeah.
Actually, Sony has the rights to one of my favorite properties, Robotech. So if they could squeeze a Robotech movie out before they collapse, that would be.
That or just hope they hold it off till somebody better is involved. Because there's actually going to be a roundtable coming up soon. We're trying to work on now, where we actually talk about basically. It's going to be the first of many actually, where we're going to discuss the history of and the current state of many film companies, and of course, what better to start with than Sony? So that'll be coming up here soon. And we also have another roundtable coming up here soon that I want to plug real quick. That'll be in the couple weeks going forward. It's about superhero fatigue. Is it really a thing or not? Or is it just shitty movies? So we'll get into that too a little bit more as time goes on. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Was there anything you had to plug, Rob, or?
No, you can find more of my stuff at Robot Shlomo on YouTube. I'm the only Robot Shlomo on YouTube. If you want to ask me a question, you want to say hi, or you want to tell me something you might know about movies, you can reach me at Twitter, at Robot Shlomo on Twitter. I'm the only one there either. So
right. And we're always lurking on the Facebook group, so hopefully we see all you guys out there. And thanks for joining us for the first time, Matt. Hopefully the first of many.
I'm looking forward to it.
Do you have a Twitter account, Matt?
I do not. I have a public one, but I don't have a one that I would want to be avidly sharing on YouTube right
so
now.
Just get yourself one pretty soon, because that'll be good to have. So we can all communicate with the fans, stuff like that. Tweet out when we're going live and all that good stuff.
I don't even understand the Twitters. I use it, but I don't understand.
See, that's how I know you don't understand, because you say the Twitter. You don't say Twitter. You say
Twitters.
the Twitter. The Twitters, right? So
the Twitters.
I gotta get down there and teach you how to use the Twitters.
The Twitters. I don't know if I could use them Twitters. They're scary.
I don't know how to do that. And back in my
day,
the
presidents can do it. I can do it. I'll try and learn the Twitters.
Yeah.
The handles and the hashtags and the whatnots. Oh my God!
I can't find the handle.
Good stuff. All right, guys, so for those who are watching, we wish you guys a happy, good night or evening or morning or afternoon, depending on your location, your geographic location. So,
Well, it is July. I'm gonna wish him a Merry Christmas. So I'm just gonna wish him
Merry Christmas. Okay, we're done.